All right, we are live. It's can you guys believe we're back already? Seems like we just finished. That was what, April, May,
Hard to believe.
like middle of May, we finished.
Spring football, man.
All over again.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're back, but I'm certainly glad to be here back with the gang. Going to be a good time, good season, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, let's get it started. Here we go. All right, I'm Langston Worst Jr. Beside me, you have Chris Hughes. Beside him, you have Dale Ross. We are talking preps. We're back for season number 5. It's wow, it just seems like we just ended season number 4 back in May. We're going to be joined by Senator Vickie Sawyer. I'm going to bring her in right now. How you doing, Senator Sawyer?
Hey, thanks for having me out here, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to get right into it. The last thing we saw was the meeting between you guys and the state association. Some pleasantries came after the meeting, but where does it stand right now with HB 91? Where are you guys standing as far as your relationship with the association as we speak right now?
Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. We did have a really good meeting with the board themselves, not just the executive leadership, but the board members, superintendents and ADs, and they really understood our concerns, and we had an amazing meeting in moving forward with HB 91. We will intend to have it be heard next week in the Senate Education Committee. This will be a collaborative effort between the General Assembly and the Department of Public Instruction. We've been working with their attorneys and staff, both the board attorneys as well as Superintendent Truitt's office, to come to an MOU about how we move forward with the Athletic Association and how we want our schools and our students to be treated moving forward.
Can you kind of explain to viewers, kind of in plain language, what exactly HB 91 is and why you guys felt it was necessary this time?
Yeah, so we did not wake up in the morning and saying we want to abolish the High School Athletic Association. In no way was that our intent. But unfortunately, like what we've heard back from schools and ADs and superintendents is that when you do have an issue, there's not a fair or clear appeals process. And we started investigating and got further and further into it. And unfortunately, the executive leadership just wouldn't come to the table at the time to talk to us. And when they did, it was always combative. And truly, my fellow senators and I thought, my gosh, if we're going to treat an elected representative like this, how do they treat our coaches? What is going on with our kids? And then we started talking to coaches and kids, and they would tell us all these things that were going on, but they would say, please don't tell them that I said this because I'm afraid I'll never get into the playoffs ever again. And that was a resounding thing that came all over North Carolina that we heard from those folks who contacted us. So, that fear of retribution, the inability for them to be transparency, their unwillingness to turn over financial records, their just coldness about asking general questions about what they're doing with public money and public school kids and public interest led us to say, you know what, this is not a willingly open and transparent group. And so they're going to have to go away if they don't want to answer the questions because they are dealing with our children.
Do you feel that's gotten better, Vickie, in the last, throughout the course of the last few meetings you guys have had, and are they starting to address what you guys are looking for?
Well, make no mistake about it. It did not get well until the State Board of Education stepped in and let them know that, hey, guys, you know what? We're on the legislator's side here about what we see and share their concerns. So after that, and they received the message loud and clear from the chairman and the superintendent that we're all in this together, they came together. And when we got down to it and we were talking to superintendents that serve on that board, they understood. They knew what we were talking about, and they were really willing to work for it. So from that meeting, I point blank asked them, are y'all going to work with us or not? And they all agreed to work with us. And that, for me, was a big step forward.
Oh, well, good evening, Senator Sawyer, and I appreciate you coming on here with us this evening. I wanted to ask you mentioned the conversations that you guys have already had with the NCHSAA, but I wanted to ask, is House Bill 91 still going to move forward And after all of these recent meetings that you mentioned that you guys have had, is it still there to replace the NCHSAA? Or do you even feel now that you've had this dialogue that it is necessary to have to replace the NCHSAA at this point?
Yeah, so my intent was never to replace the NCHSAA. Just like I said, they were an unwilling participant in the dialogue that we had. So we felt like, hey, you got to go. Thankfully, though, we will have a HB 91 moving forward, but not in a present form. So we are going to pull it back and hear it in the Senate Education Committee. Again, this will be a joint effort between myself, or between the Senate, the House, and the State Board of Education about what a contract looks like moving forward. What are our expectations from the organization that administers our high school athletics, and things like, we are going to talk about penalties, and that shouldn't be fines, and maybe a demerit system like other schools do. We do want to say, or as other states do, we do want to say, hey, look, maybe the state auditor should come in and be able to look at your finances, since basically public schools, all but 4 private schools, are the ones who are funding your organization. Guys, these are just really simple questions. When an organization has $41 million in assets, and that is just about as much as the ACC, and 4 times as much as any of our surrounding states combined, those are serious questions that need to be answered. And so luckily with HB 91, we're going to not have to go through this kind of public display of angst again, get them under a contract that will be renewable, and we will live to fight another day for the North Carolina High Schools Athletic Association.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that contract and some of the dialogue that you guys have had. But what specific actions, if you could elaborate on any, would the NCHSAA need to take in your mind moving forward to make this process work out well, really for both parties, both the state and the association?
Yeah, so the appeals process is huge, right? We saw that there's the same select few people who hear all types of all 4 of their appeals boards, and those are handpicked by the executive director. So it's almost like the prosecutor and the judge are on the same team. That is not due process. That's not how we work, and that will not stand. So that's one of those must-haves, redos of the High School Athletic Association, that we have to get that in there. So when a player has a problem, whether it's game day play or eligibility, and they want to appeal the solution, that it goes to an independent board that will give them a fair trial or fair hearing. That doesn't happen right now. It just doesn't happen. The same people are making decisions all the way up. There are a lot of others. I don't want to necessarily get into a great amount of detail because we're kind of hammering them out at the very end with the Board of Education. So I don't want to say something that I can't, I write a check that I can't cash, I guess, basically. But the appeals process is really big. Penalties are really big. That you'll definitely see those 2 being addressed in the MOU.
Thank you for joining us. It sounds like maybe there will not be a revised group. So the initial question, or this question, was actually based on part of that. And we have some private schools that play within our association, Catholic, they're non-boarding, and they follow the rules of the NCHSAA. And our question was, and maybe it's still something that we could get an answer on, would be great. If there is a revised group, what kind of role would these schools be allowed to play in that group?
Well, I'm just going to tell you my personal opinion. As a daughter or a parent of a daughter who plays athletics for a private school, there is an organization at home for those private schools to play one another. So there's a big misnomer that if these guys can't play the High School Athletic Association, that they can't play ball. That's not true. It is also tough as someone who played sports her entire life and played for public schools. You know, when you get your clock cleaned off of a private school that can recruit and retain and have coaches and, you know, just to have a lot more amenities that other districted public schools have. So we are not taking that off the table. Part of the new rework to the 91 will have a study about how you treat those schools. Do they have to always play up? I mean, how's that work? So we are going to study that issue because we also want to look at homeschoolers. Like, you know, homeschool families may not want to do traditional school, but they may have a star athlete like a star swimmer. You know, why can't they swim for their high school? Because they're, their district's high school. I don't have those answers, so we're going to have a study committee to try to come up with one of those, and that will be part of House Bill 91 moving forward.
Okay, just a follow-up to that. Playing in the privates in the private association, schools here in Charlotte end up playing each other 2-3 times in football in a season because there isn't a lot of competition. And just something to note, you mentioned recruiting, et cetera. These schools that I mentioned do not recruit. They follow the NCHSAA rules on that. So while there is problem with recruiting in certain aspects of private ball, we all know that. It doesn't exist, at least with these schools. So,
well, and then, so I want to follow up with that too. Is it fair for 4 schools and not all parochial schools to be involved in North Carolina Athletic Association? What makes these 4 schools more special than my daughter's school?
Because
that is conversations that need to be had, and that's what we're going to study.
Because they were willing to follow the rules of the NCHSAA, and the other schools are not, such as reclassification, et cetera. So that's why those other schools are not allowed to be part of the association. There's a guideline, and if you follow the guidelines, you can be in. Of course, now you have a lot of private schools that are wanting to fight that, so it might be a lot more difficult, but that's why.
And that would have been clarifying information that we would have loved to have gotten from the North Carolina Athletic Association when we first started this probe and inquiry. But unfortunately, their unwillingness, not the board members, but the executive staff unwillingness to answer questions like that, we had no idea. So we had to draw our own conclusions. So I'm grateful that the board has come to the table.
Okay, I'm sorry, but my statement on that is that's fairly easy to learn. But anyway, and not directly from the NCHSAA. But speaking about the money, so one of my concerns with the NCHSAA, as a lot of us have had, is transparency. We would like to see more transparency, especially when it comes to the funds. You mentioned one transparency as far as how the board is put together, but another concern is what they're doing with the money and what could they be doing with the money. So that is a question. The claim of the $41 million. What are your thoughts on how it could be used? What changes would you make as far as that is concerned? The money that's there.
Yeah, so you guys know better than I do, but I saw invoices coming from playoff games where both schools had to pay the High School Athletic Association $35. They had to pay to host and have a playoff game. So there's schools out there who get penalized monetarily for their student athletes going, and doing great things. Now, it is a board, it is a private, it is a board. And so I'm comprised of public school personnel. So I trust that they will now be more in tune with the money. Personally, I would like to see things like if they do have to do a commission or a gate split, that all 3 parties come to the table equally instead of High School Athletic Association taking all the money, off the top and then, left with the other 2. I would like to see reduced fees for entry for schools. They charge, I think, $1 per student, regardless if that student is going to participate in athletics or not. I definitely want to see, I'm a parent who raised money for public education for 10 years. So I'm the one who's asking you to buy popcorn and, on a Friday night, I'm out there sweating in the box trying to sell concessions while the kids are out there playing ball so I can make sure they can get to the next Friday night light. So I want to see them keep more of their ticket receipts. I want to see the schools retain their own money. The High School Athletic Association, as good as they are on some things, on this part, it's very embarrassing. Why take $1 from a school and only return 10 cents and brag about that? And then that $41,000 in scholarships that they gave out, and for 35 kids, that was awful. They were bragging about these scholarships they were given to student athletes. When you have that type of money in the bank and you're only giving back $45,000 to student athletes, that's a lopsided approach to how we should be treating our kids.
Yeah, I see Chris nodding his head up for Chris. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I agree with that statement. They could give more scholarship money. They most certainly could and should.
Yeah, Vickie, You know, we've talked about a lot of things. I wanted to get your response to two things. We've seen a lot of organizations come out and support association, the football coaches, the basketball coaches, the baseball. I mean, ADs, a lot of people. Did that carry any weight with you guys? The fact that so many people who they govern really came out in support of them?
No, when you see a problem this big, it doesn't matter who's sitting there on the other side, especially if they're associated with the problem. And so I understand, and I've seen the emails coming from the association to these organizations. And these organizations may have been represented by one or two people, but not from the ones who contacted us. So I appreciate their ground game on getting out the word to those associations. But when you guys have seen and heard the things that I've heard from people who keep saying, please don't use my name because I'm scared of retribution, then you know what? I'm in it, and I'm going to fight for every one of those kids out there, those coaches and those ADs who called and bared their soul to me about this organization.
All right, you laid out a couple of things I just want to go back through just so everybody's clear. The next steps for HB 91, what are going to be the next steps that we're going to see happen?
Yeah, so you'll see a reworked bill that will be modeled around a MOU. In other words, that's just like a contract. It will lay out our expectations for the organization for the next maybe 5 years, and it will be, in my idea, it will be a renewable contract. So that's something that, you know, just like any other private company that comes to do the bidding of the government, you have to renew those contracts, and there's nothing different with this one. So we will amend that bill. We'll bring it back into education, so we'll get a couple more hearings. And then we'll move it on out of the General Assembly to the governor's office. But, you know, the Department of Public Education is absolutely in lockstep with us on these provisions. So it's not a fact of, you know, will it or won't it pass? I mean, we've got really great input from everybody on this.
Well, the association will remain, but you guys will have kind of a laundry list of things that you will want to see.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, remain 5 years from now.
Yeah, like any contractor that the government hires, right? I mean, there's just certain things that you have to do. And one of them is, like you said, money and transparency and open meetings. So when they are making these rules and these laws, that it's not behind closed doors, that they should have an open meeting and people are invited to those meetings. There should be a due process for the appeals process. You know, those kind of things are just common knowledge that aren't being practiced right now with the organization. And that's been really the bane of our existence. I mean, we don't talk about conferencing. I mean, a little bit. I mean, that's not the problem. The problem is transparency and accountability with an organization that's the wealthiest in the nation.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to kind of, I'm saying nail you down. I'm not trying to go after
I don't mind.
I don't mind. The private schools we talked about, especially the non-border parochials, you know, the Catholics and the Cardinal Gibbonses, do you want them to remain in the association and be able to play for association state championships, or do you just want association schools to be able to play them?
So again, I know that that's politically charged. So, and we have a big one in our area, Charlotte Catholic. So I don't want to speak out against that, but I also get tired of seeing Charlotte Catholic win 4 years in a row, you know, against my schools that are, you know, really trying hard to, you know, compete with districted schools. You know, they just can't compete against some of these larger schools like that. So however that study comes out, I'm excited to see when we put that into the hands of the professionals and see what they decide. Again, you know, with most of my policies that I feel like it's either everybody or nobody, right? So everybody come in or nobody come in. What, you know, open the door to all or none. But that's not for me to decide, and this study should do that. But no, are they going to get kicked out next year? No. But are they going to be looked at? Yeah, absolutely.
Same with charter schools. I mean, what's your position on charter schools? There's been a lot of talk about them dominating the 1A, just as you mentioned, Charlotte Catholic. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
So if you see in the first House Bill 91, Majority Leader Bell was really the leader on this conference play because he lives in Goldsboro in a 1A area school. And so he's seen charter schools just clean public schools clogs. So his, you know, part of that was to, like, hey, just simply play up, right? If you're pulling kids from a small district versus a charter school that can pull from 5 counties, I mean, is it really fair to, you know, allow that to those folks to play on this level playing field? So that is more of the conference play that I didn't get into. I'm really truly more about, you know, the money, the accountability, the due process. So that also will be studied in this HB 91. But truthfully, I mean, the board should be able to decide this in an open manner and talk about it and have public hearings. And that should be the duty of the High School Athletic Association. But it needs to have public input where it has not had that before.
All right. Well, Vickie, I really want to thank you for coming on and being open and honest with us, and hopefully you'll come back later on as this bill moves on and we have some further discussion. But really enjoyed it. I see Chris is nodding his head the whole time. So I appreciate it, and you have a great night, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
That is Vickie Sawyer, the state senator from Iredell. Now we're going to bring in James Alverson for a little reaction from the state association. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great, Langston, and Chris and Dale. It's good to see you guys, and it's exciting to be with you guys. I know Q wishes she could be with us. She's got another commitment tonight, but do appreciate your time and appreciate you taking on a tough issue.
Yeah, I always like to have the boss lady on because I asked her to look at her crystal ball and tell me about high school athletics for the year, but you're going to get that question later on.
James got big shoes to follow, right?
Yeah,
I'll use my magic 8-ball tonight. I don't have
you heard a lot of what Vickie was saying about the money has been the biggest thing. Everybody's focused on the $41 million, and we have the richest association in the country. Lawmakers are stuck to that issue. Are they right to stick to $41 million?
Well, I never thought that I would be sitting in front of the General Assembly because we have money and not because we need it. So that's certainly something that was surprising to me about all this coming several years ago. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association, thanks to the visionary leadership of boards of directors and executive directors from the past, from Charlie Adams, Simon Terrell, and all the way up through Davis Whitfield and Commissioner Tucker, has been very fortunate to have the visionary leadership and to have the good financial stewardship of the shared resources of the members of the High School Athletic Association. And yes, $41 million in net assets sounds like a lot of money. And you know what? That is a lot of money. But at the same time, the way that the legislators, particularly Senator Sawyer, Senator Johnson, and Senator McGinnis have portrayed this is just a little misleading, Langston, and that's been disappointing. We've told them regularly about the breakdown of the association's assets, and $15.8 million of that's in a donor-directed endowment that we can't touch the principal on that money. That goes for scholarships, Hall of Fame, a lot of different areas, and donors give specifically to specific things. And the way endowments work is you can't touch the principal. You can only spend the interest on it. And so we've done that. That's part of where that $41,000 in scholarships that you're talking about, all those came up. The $41,000 in scholarships have all come from donor donations, and you don't spend the principal on that donation. You only spend the interest on that particular fund, and you only spend 3 to 5% of the interest per year. That's the way endowments have worked. Harvard has an endowment; they operate very similarly. UNC Chapel Hill has an endowment, and they operate in a similar manner. So that's $15.8 million of that, $41 million in net assets. And then we had $10.7 million that was in a board designated quasi endowment. And that was built from, the endowment games, which was an extra regular season game that we allowed our schools to play voluntarily if they wanted to. And $1 surcharge on playoff tickets, which is above and beyond the ticket price, was $1 off the top that came in and went straight to the endowment. So $10.7 million is where that sat in 2020 on that 990 that ended the 2020 year. And I'm just going to tell you that number won't be that this year because the board took $4 million out of that and gave back to our member schools this year as part of the CAPS program, which was the COVID athletic program subsidy. And so $4 million of that 10.7 is already going back to the member schools, has already gone back. And the board can choose to use that money that is remaining in a similar fashion. They could choose to hang on to it and do what's in the best interest of the member schools because it's a shared member resource. And that leaves about $13.9 million, which handles your undesignated funds. That includes the building, which is valued, fair market value, at somewhere around $1.3 million. Mm-hmm. That includes the association vehicles, the copiers, the computers, all the things that we use to run the day-to-day business of the association. It includes this year's operating reserves, and it also includes 2 years of operating reserves, just about 2 years of operating cash reserves, as directed by the board of directors, who I'll remind you represent the membership of the High School Athletic Association. We do not operate in the Chapel Hill office. We do not operate outside of the wishes of the membership. And that's bottom line. So you can see that the breakdown of the association's finances, That's out there. We've put it out there. We put it out at our regional meetings every year. And if there's anything that we could have done better, Langston and guys, I'll say this: if there's anything we could have done better, and if I could have go back, several years and say that we should do better, we needed to better educate our members, our coaches, our athletic directors and principals and superintendents about how the endowment works, about what the purpose of the endowment is, and about how it works for them, because it does. And so those are some things that, if I had a do-over button, I would hit that and go back to it. But that's not where we are. And I think at this point, part of what HB 91 has done is has forced us to get our message out there and to help people better understand how the association finances work. And I think that's a good thing.
Okay, so thank you for that. I do want to say that I knew that breakdown. I didn't know by numbers. Because this isn't real secretive information. I only know it because of an accounting friend that we all know has kind of laid this out to me because he has investigated in the past. But it does drive a point that I'm going to ask the question now. Most people, there have been questions about the endowment and what is done with the endowment. And that is a place where you guys can do a better job, because when you go around and talk to coaches and principals, et cetera, there's not a real clear thing about, well, there's just this money going out and what's happening with it. But honestly, we hadn't heard about this to the degree that we're hearing about it now under previous, under Charlie Adams and Whitfield. We did not hear about this kind of stuff. Again, I'm going to say at the level that we're seeing it made it into the media. So I guess the question here is, in your opinion, why has this not come up before? Why do you think it's here now and hasn't been that big of an issue in the past?
I think that will probably be a better question for the legislators to answer. I'm not sure I really understand why it's any different now than it ever has been in the past. And what I will say is that the association board and staff, and the association is all 427 member schools. We all make up the NCHSAA. It's not just the people that sit in the office at 222 Finley Golf Course that make up the NCHSAA. It's all of our member schools, and it's all of our board of directors. And the board of directors over the course that I've been there, so the 5 years that I've been with the association, and even in the 8 years prior that I covered the association, the board of directors has had a very, very steady hand in how they've guided the association and how they've stewarded the resources of the association. You don't see big fluctuations and big swings in how money is spent, how the budget is done. You just don't see those things. And if anything, the board and the association is guilty of is doing things the way we've always done, and not responding to the changing dynamics of the association finances fast enough. We have invested money in the endowment. We've invested, the endowed dollars that the board directed from those endowment games and the dollar surcharge. We've invested it, and we've invested it well. And it's done well. I mean, if you look at the market, I don't know how many of you guys have a 401k or how many of you are involved in investing on the side. But if you look at the market since 2010, it's done really, really well. And the association has benefited from that, which means our member schools have benefited from that because it's a member school resource. And I think that that's something we all need to understand. And so the association put together an endowment advisory committee. We didn't make up the members. The Coaches Association and the Athletic Directors Association, they're the ones that nominated people to go on to this endowment advisory committee, and they've already forwarded recommendations to our board of directors, which have been acted on recently to increase the amount of the interest percentage that's given back to our member schools on an annual basis. If you look back to when we started doing end-of-year distributions for the association from the endowment, which was back around 2010, 2011, over that decade or so, we've given back over $13 million to our member schools through the endowment program and through just the financial stewardship of the staff, keeping the operating budget under the proposed budget every year. So through those things and through travel, reimbursements and the things that we do every year, we've given back over $13 million. And then you tack on another 4 on top of that this year when we knew programs are going to be really strapped for cash because of a lack of spectators. That's where, that $4 million kicks it up to almost $17 million that we've given back to member schools. And if we didn't have the great financial stewardship and the great vision of the boards and of the members of this association to have these resources available, we wouldn't have been able to give back $4 million. And there might be a case if we hadn't done these things, if we hadn't had the cash reserves that our boards have directed us to have, where we would actually have to reach out to our member schools and say, hey, we can't pay our bills at the end of this year because we didn't take any playoff revenue in. You need to pay us so that we can cover our bill. Or we'd have to go to the state legislature and ask those same things. I mean, those are all difficult things that a lot of other state associations are having to deal with. And the association, because it's managed its funds well, because the members have pooled shared resources together, we're able to give back at a time when other people are simply not able to do that.
Great comments. This next question, I can understand, but I don't, not being the fly on the wall to be able to see how you guys were approached. This is about your responsiveness. We heard about it just a little bit ago, and we've heard about this before, and that is that you guys were not responsive to initial requests. And we'd like to hear what you have to say about that. And do you think that there was a lack of transparency with the lawmakers? Transparency goes both ways, right? And could the NCHSAA have done better in handling both the initial, or I'll say the initial, because it sounds like maybe things are being worked out?
Well, thank you for your question, Dale. And I will say that, transparency is an important thing, and it does go both ways, as you mentioned. And some of the things that have been said about the responsiveness of the association, I would characterize as not completely true. And that's disappointing to me individually at this time. And what I would say is that the initial request that Senators McGinnis and Johnson sent to Commissioner Tucker for 990s after Senator McGinnis requested that we revisit the Anson decision back in 2019, and he was told no. After that, he just started asking for 990s, and Senator Johnson got involved with that. And Commissioner Tucker initially told them no. And she talked with our board of directors after that time, and the board informed her and, made the decision that we should share that information with them. If they're asking for it, we should give it to them. And so we did. And since that time, anytime that one of the legislators has reached out and has asked for information from the association, we've sent it. Anytime that, a senator or a representative has reached out and invited us to a meeting, has invited us to talk with them, we've done that. We came over for the meeting on April 15th with the Joint Committee on Government Operations, the subcommittee that they formed to investigate the association more formally. We came over, we spoke with them. We thought we had a productive meeting. And at the end of it, Chairman Berger at that time said, thank you for meeting with us. He told Commissioner Tucker that they'd be in touch if there was anything further that they needed. And since then, all we got was a request for more information, which we provided in packet form and PDF form as we sent over to them. And we were not invited to the subsequent meeting that committee had, where Superintendent Truitt and a former vice president of the State Board of Education presented. We were not invited to that meeting. And so they made decisions and talked about things that they did, and they didn't ask our opinion. They didn't ask us to sit down at the table and clarify things. And finally, after they introduced HB 91, there was a formal invitation for us to come and sit down. And so those things I would say is somewhat misleading when they say that we initially were not responsive. But everything that they've asked for, Dale, we've given. Every meeting that they've invited us to, we've attended. And I don't know what much more you would ask of an association than to be involved when they're invited and to be involved in providing the information that's requested. We've shared information, and they continue to bring up the 41 million, even though it is somewhat misleading, and we've shared that with them. But for whatever reason they decide to do that, that's up to them. But as far as I'm concerned, and as far as the association is concerned, we've been responsive to our state legislature, and we look forward to continuing to work with people who want to work with us.
Can I say something before Chris? Do you mind? I just wanted to say one thing that you can do in transparency is it's not just as administrators and coaches and all that don't know. It's really that bigger population of people, parents that don't fully understand this. So I would work on a way to make sure they can know. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No problem, Dale. James, by the way, good to see you. I know we don't get to see each other quite as much as typical with, given the pandemic and stuff like that. But although be it remotely here, it's good to see you right now. But I want to ask you, and you mentioned being good stewards of the association's money. And again, by the association, obviously we mean the member schools. But should the association, or really could the association, have possibly done more for the schools during the pandemic? I know you mentioned the $4 million of the endowment that was given back to schools, and that was an incredible gesture. And given the size of the endowment, could some of the money that some of these schools owe in fines be potentially ripped away? And if that is even possible, I don't know if it is, but if it was possible, what would the downside be to maybe just nullifying any fines? And what would the downside of that be for you guys?
I think that you would have to ask the members that question because, Chris, to be honest with you, the membership has agreed to the rules that the association has now, and that includes fines. And I've talked to numerous athletic directors and coaches that they want people to be fined if they're breaking rules. They want to pay a penalty if they're breaking rules. There has to be some consequence for breaking the rules to keep the playing field level and to deter penalties. We wouldn't have speeding tickets in North Carolina if we didn't believe as a state and as a government that monetary penalties are a deterrent. We wouldn't have those types of things, but we do because they are a useful tool. And so the member schools have agreed to that set of rules through the board of directors. And if they want to change that there's a process to go through with the board of directors to do that. I don't know personally what that would look like. At the same time, is there a way to do a demerit system or some of those types of things that wouldn't involve monetary fines? Possibly. But at the same time, what is that demerit system going to lead to? Am I going to be more punishing kids for administrators' mistakes and having them miss the playoffs because the demerit system ends up disqualifying their team or disqualifying whatever? What's that system going to look like and who's it going to impact? And so while a fine may punish kids in some way, it's never taken directly from the kids. It comes from an athletic budget, which may be a booster club, it may be whatever, but it's because they broke a shared rule, an agreed upon rule, and that's why those fines are in place. And so what I would say is that's a membership decision, and it's best left in the hands of our members.
Well, great response to that, and I appreciate that, and especially the way you articulated that. Speaking, again, the membership makes up the association, but I want to hear your thoughts, not necessarily, the association being the membership schools, but just your thoughts in general of the HB 91. And as a staff, the 17 or 18 professionals that work inside the building there in Chapel Hill, how much did this blindside you, especially, of course, being the staff? Nobody wants to think of an entity coming in, investigating you, and having the prospects of you. I know you've been with the association for 5 years. There's countless others that have dedicated their entire professional lives to working there. It just can't be a fun prospect to think that in the back of your mind, you potentially could lose a job if this was to go through to fruition.
Yeah, Chris, that's something that's definitely hanging. I would say it's almost a cloud over the office right now. We don't talk a lot about it because we're busy. We have things going on. We're getting ready for fall sports. Games have already kicked off this week. Practices, we're dealing with transfer waiver requests. We're dealing with hardships. We're dealing with a lot of different things. Trying to get media cards out to you guys. That's been something I've been dealing with this week. But again, that is something that does hang over each of our heads in the office. We love what we do or we wouldn't be there. That's just bottom line. We love working for kids. We love working for the schools of North Carolina, and we think it's important. And personally, I believe that we're the most qualified people in the state to do it. We have a staff of 17 people in our office on a daily basis. And those 17 people go to work, not for the money. They don't go to work for different things. If they wanted money, they would be working somewhere else. I can tell you that. But what I will say is 11 of us already have a master's degree. And in 4 weeks, when I finish up mine, it'll be 12 in administering athletic programs. We have master's degrees. We've been doing this for a combined over 100 years. Closer to 200 if you count everybody. I mean, Q's been there for 30 years. Karen's been there.
You just age Q.
I mean, you can go right on
She's
down
27, man. She's 27. Don't start that.
Well, that 27's gotten really long the past couple of years. I have to give her a few
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm
She's
sorry.
dealt with more than I told her on the show before. She's dealt with more than any of her predecessors ever have. But James, I want to thank you for coming on and being so eloquent and open about your answers. I did want to get you to change gears just a little bit. COVID is causing games to be canceled throughout the state. Is the association thinking of taking any action? We're seeing, some counties are going to testing. Orange County last night had a vote. Should they, have mandatory vaccines? Any action you guys are thinking about taking? Maybe having conference play start early? Anything to make sure we can have playoffs?
Nothing at this time. We're obviously monitoring the situation. Obviously, the Delta variant has spiked across the state, and that is really making things difficult, Langston. I think you all know that. Our administrators are dealing with that on a school level and on a county level. And right now, the guidance from DHHS, and we're in contact with them regularly about what they're advising. We're talking with them about that. But at the same time, we're leaving the decisions for now in the hands of the local schools who are best equipped and dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. Our county health departments are in contact with DHHS. Our schools and their LEAs should be in contact with their local health department, making the best decision for their schools and for their kids. And then at a state level, if the governor or DHHS advise us of different things, we'll obviously take that into effect, and we're going to follow the guidance and the requests of the governor and the Department of Health and Human Services to do our part to defeat this COVID-19 virus and defeat the Delta variant and hopefully get us back to normal. It's been difficult the last 2 years. I know you all know that. I know our kids have dealt with that. And most of all, I think our athletic directors and the coaches that have been on the front lines of making sure that kids are tested, making sure that they're doing the symptom checks, they're doing the temperature checks, and then they're trying to coach, get people ready to play games, get people, skilled up in skill development sessions and in workouts. They're working really hard. They're exhausted. And we all want to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to pull together and do our part on the local level to make sure that we're able to have playoffs at the end of this year. It's so difficult and it's so disappointing to hear, all right, we got a quarantine here, we got a quarantine there, and those things are happening across our state right now. I don't think with the COVID numbers where they are that we should, any of us should be surprised by that. But I will say I'm hopeful that we'll be able to continue things as they're going, that we'll be able to continue to offer kids opportunities to participate in education-based athletics, because we do feel that it has value. And we believe in what we do with education-based athletics. We believe it's good for kids. And when you have to weigh the risk of participation with the benefits. And we think right now that the benefits outweigh the risks, and we hope that it stays that way.
Yeah, let us hope. Well, James, look, thanks for coming on the show. Definitely look forward to having you on down the road.
Glad to be on, Langston. Thank you, guys. Appreciate what you do, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, James.
All right. He did pretty good compared to Q. Their relative. He did pretty good.
All right. It's time for the game show. Chris, you get a break. You can take a deep breath. All right. Alex Bentley, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell me how excited you are to get ready to play some football this week. Uh-oh. Alex, did you freeze up on us?
I think I'm good.
There you go.
I said, tell me about how excited you are about to get a chance to play football this week.
Oh, it's been a long time coming for senior season. I can't believe it's already here. I'm just ready to get after it. First week, senior season. Everybody's been preparing for this all summer. Can't wait for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can't wait for this because you're going to take on that guy down right below you, Mr. Griner, on the game shows. Multiple choice questions. Now, Sam has his daughters in the back who have a Google out.
Bentley, don't listen to that.
So you're at a disadvantage before we get started.
Charlie Journey. Yeah, about to start. Listen.
Get Google fired up.
Yes.
How you going? First of all, let's talk a little bit before we start this game. So I know we got to roll. But like Bentley, that's my guy. Y'all don't understand that. I coached Bentley.
Is that right?
And this is like one of my favorite players I've ever coached. He is a dragon. You know, like you said, he's a wrestler on top of a football player, and he holds that mentality when he plays football, and I absolutely love it. You don't never see a quarterback for a team be the toughest guy on the team, and he really is that.
Well, Alex, I want you to take down your former coach.
No.
And
You let me have this. This is the first
That's the goal.
All right, now, Sam, who's going first?
He always listen.
Okay,
he goes first.
Alex, you get to answer the first question. Chelsea's going to read. Here we go.
All right. First question. Who was the National League home run king for half of the 80s? A, Mike Schmidt, B, Reggie Jackson, C, Gorman Thomas, or D, George Brett?
Oh.
Alex, I got faith in you now. Don't start talking about
Oh my king. 80s. All right, we're gonna try this one. Let's go. This is before my time. I'm gonna just go with. Let's go A.
All right, we're going A, Mike Schmidt. Coach Griner, what do you got?
Golly. So if he would have said Reggie Jackson, I probably would have went with him. If he didn't say it, like if he went like George Brett or Gorman Thomas, I would have probably said Mike Smith. I can't remember when Reggie Jackson finished playing. Golly.
Sam, we're trying to get through the segment, man.
Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson. I'm gonna go Reggie Jackson.
You're down 1-0, Sam. The answer is Mike Schmidt.
See, don't stress me out, Langston. I knew
I'm
it
not
was
stressing you out. I'm just trying to get you to answer the question so we can move on.
we're learning more about your strategy.
Gary's in the back. And you holding us up because you can't answer the question.
I'm in the back for an hour. Y'all tell me to get this.
Damn, let's go.
All right. Well, this was something I learned. So, which school has the biggest social media following? Would it be A, Ohio State, B, Florida, G, Georgia, or D, Alabama?
Sam.
I'm gonna go A.
All right, Alex, what you got?
I'm gonna go Alabama.
Oh, Alex, it was A. Ohio State has nearly 3 million social media followers, including 2 million on Facebook.
Dang, I knew I should have went Mike Smith too. Shoot.
we are. Hold on, I gotta keep my.
So he got to be able to pronounce his name. He gets half credit because he said A.
Because Sam is mad if I he always thinks I'm cheating him somehow, miscalculating on the score. So it is 1-1, and we're going to Chelsea. And
all right,
Alex, you're up.
Which movie won the Oscar award? Which movie, won the Oscar awards in history?
Won the most.
Yeah,
that's my fault. I left the word out. Won the most Oscar awards.
We got A, West Side Story, B, Gigi, 1958, C, From Here to Eternity, or D, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Let's go Lord of the Rings.
All right. Samuel.
Golly. It's either A or D. It's not B or C, I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Do I need to get the theme music from that TV show out to make you answer fast?
Yeah, that's fine. You might have to. Okay.
I think you're in jeopardy, by the way.
I'm gonna go Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Well, you both got it right.
Mm-hmm.
We're 2-2. I should let you just drown because you're about to drown.
Nah, see, I'm just not. You didn't rush me, so I was like, yeah, I had to go with my gut. I was like, you know what? I mean, it was too detailed out. Lord of the Rings, da 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 da. Like, you know, I was like,
that's the name of the movie.
I thought he about had you pinned.
That's the name of the movie. Dale, let's go.
Right. So hopefully I can say all these names. Which baby rapper hails from Charlotte? Lil Baby, Da Baby, C, Ball Baby, D, Sada Baby. Did I say that right?
You did.
Yep.
Samuel, you up?
I knew it was one of the two. I just can't figure it out. Let me think for a second.
One of the two. Isn't there four there?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I know two of them are not it. I know two of them are not it.
Don't ask your daughter. So
You better get this one because I got it for sure.
I know you do. That's what I'm contemplating. I'm gonna go with A.
All right, what you got, Alex?
It's B.
It's B, the baby. Sam, you were down, sir.
I knew it was something. I knew it was the little baby or the baby. I couldn't.
How many wrestling points you have right now, Alex?
Sam, in golf, you be dormy.
Yeah.
All right, last question, Alex. All you gotta do is get this one. You knock him out.
KO.
All right.
Sam's nervous.
Come on, Sam.
Oh, Dale rooting for me now.
Yeah, man.
Chelsea, let's go.
All right. What was the first Mecklenburg County high school football team to win 2 NCHSAA 4A state championships? A, Geringer, B, Myers Park, C, West Charlotte, or D, Independence?
It's on Bentley.
Yeah, it's Bentley.
Let's see.
At least she pronounced. She came close to pronouncing Geringer right. That's good.
Good one. A real good one.
That was good.
Did my best.
You did good. Not being
Let's
from Charlotte.
go.
Yeah.
Geringer.
All right, Sam, what you got?
West Charlotte.
You both are wrong. The answer's Independence, and you lost, Sam. You took an L.
That's incorrect because I can correct
That is
it
not
right
incorrect. That is not incorrect.
Yeah, you talking about like West Charlotte won 2 state championships
No,
for
they have not.
Independence won on their run.
They have
Before
not.
they had their 7 in a
West
row.
Charlotte won in 1995.
And in 1960 something.
No, NCHSAA 4A. You didn't.
Yeah, not W.
They had,
No W in front of it.
they have 2
Damn.
state championships. I look at the banner.
Damn, you lost.
They got two. Like I'm
But
saying,
they're not
The other one is
NCHSAA.
not NCHSAA. So you
You
lost.
what does that even mean? What is it? Is it North Carolina? So they didn't win in North Carolina?
Gary, the man just can't take an L.
Hey, Bentley, tell him what I told you today.
Coach Richmond said today that I need to play Richmond instead of Coach Griner because Richmond beat him. I need to take on the top dog.
He did. He absolutely did.
Don't let Richmond down. Richmond been in the back longer than me, hour and a half now.
I know. Well, Alex, look, man, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, good work, Kelly, man. If I go down, I'm glad to see you, man. I respect you.
Congratulations, young man.
I knew Mike Smith, and then
I appreciate it.
the baby. I was contemplating. I was like, Kylie's a little baby or the baby? I don't know.
All right, Alex, take care of yourself, my man.
That wasn't a wrestling match. That was a boxing
Thank
match. That was Frazier Ali.
Off to a great start this season. Sam is 0-1.
I still think I'm right on that. I don't
Wait a
know.
minute.
Alex
Any
Bass.
Owens
Look, you're
three?
taking Alex Bass right now. Get him, Alex Bass. Let's go.
Actually, no.
All right,
I'm very disappointed there. I'll be the first person to say that Sam was robbed in that last series.
Thank you.
He was robbed all the way around, and I can explain later why he was robbed in this series. But we'll just move on. But yes, Sam was robbed.
Thank you. I
Um,
was.
Alex, I want to get your thoughts on what you heard from Senator Sawyer and from James Alverson Association. What's your feelings about HB 91 and where we are right now?
Let's move on. The NCHSAA is the entity to lead high school athletics in the state of North Carolina. Are there some things we can discuss? Absolutely. We've all agreed on that. So let's move on, develop a memorandum of understanding. Let's also keep in mind that the NCHSAA's standing and financial solvency is the result of the legacy, as James mentioned, the legacy of the work of people like Q Tucker, Davis Whitfield, Charlie Adams, Simon Terrell. Let's keep in mind that the NCHSAA is in the position that it is now because of the visionary leadership of Charlie Adams in the establishment of the NCHSAA Endowment and the cultivation of the NCHSAA's corporate relationship with previously Wachovia, now Wells Fargo, which is the longest standing corporate partnership uniting an state high school athletics governing body and a major corporate entity in America. So let's keep in mind that the association benefited from the visionary leadership of Charlie Adams, who was way ahead of his time. So in terms of association financial solvency, that is the factor. States much larger than North Carolina were not blessed with the beacon, the visionary, and the great leader for whom the word impressive is still an understatement for his prevailing legacy. Other states didn't have that. So let's be grateful. Let's also just move ahead, develop a memorandum of understanding, realizing that the NCHSAA is best to lead high school athletics, and let's move forward.
All right, Gary.
I'm gonna tell you what I heard. I heard vindictiveness, and I heard reactionary politics. When they got turned down on appeal, what I heard is, you can't tell me that because I'm a state legislature. And I've been through the appeal process myself. I broke a rule. I commented on officiating in a playoff game. I was about to get fined. I sent the evidence. They heard the appeal, and the fine was rescinded. So they didn't like the appeal process because it didn't go their way. So that's what spurred this on. Then the other thing I heard was about Catholic. They're upset because Catholic is winning state championships. I think they take the attitude, well, the 4A is for the big cities, but we all should have a chance to win 3A, 2A, or 1A. And here's this private school that is playing by a different set of rules. And she didn't even know that they play under the same rules and guidelines that the public schools play under. That's why they're a member. So this was reactionary on the part of the legislature. Some members of the legislature didn't like being told no. They don't understand or didn't understand how the endowment process works. And they're trying to pass legislation so that they can control the process. It's a whole bunch of mess, political mess, that's wasting taxpayer time.
So first, take everything Gary said, condense it. Perfect. I just wanted to make one statement. Why are lawmakers getting involved in this appeal process? That bothers me more than anything, to think that you can bring a lawmaker in because there's some kind of power in the state and they're going to help me win a case. Appeals should be between the parties involved. And if you have to bring legal in because there's a potential legal reason, bring a lawyer in. I have a problem with that, and I agree. It looks like it's a vindictive thing for that, and I think a little bit of vindictiveness from some things that happened last fall. But that's all I'm gonna say, Langston. I'll keep it short.
Well, Gary, you just hit the nail on the head. Vindictiveness, jealousy, whatever the word you want to use, it is what it is, and you're 100% correct. I will be the first to admit, Alex said this. Q Tucker has even said this. Are there things that the NCHSAA can do right and should do better? Absolutely. And I was not 100% against this government inquiry and them at least looking at maybe some forced transparency. I was all for that to a certain degree, but you guys are right. When she started talking about Charlotte Catholic and how they had won 4 games in a row and the jealousy and how they're taken away from these other schools, I don't think that she represented herself very well. You know, I understand where she's coming, but she was not looking at this from the embodiment of a lawmaker. You could tell she was looking at this from a parent perspective. And I just don't think she represented herself very well on that one point. Now, to her credit, she did say some things that were good and that I understand. Again, it's a matter of perspective on which side you stand on. But I just don't think that she served herself well in that kind of jealousy aspect that she portrayed with Catholic in particular.
Okay.
I was hot.
I thought
I'm
she
glad
did.
you didn't have me on screen because I could
did
right
pretty
through
good.
it.
I'm with Grace though. Like I'm always.
Y'all got me
You got a
all
hole in my tongue, Gary. I'm
I'm
about to get the end of my tongue off. Yeah.
I think that some of the stuff she said was legit though. Like I thought she said some legit things. I think that there's
She did.
middle ground there you need to get.
She
Huh?
did.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest. If I'm an outsider watching this show right now, I know what side you guys stand with. I'm more in the middle. I'm gonna be honest. I just don't want to be associated with what you guys are saying, like this, because I've been on the other end of it before, where it's hurt me. Okay, and I felt like it wasn't fair. So I'm just gonna be honest with you. So like, I just want some middle ground there.
What was your experience, Sam? And as I always say to you, be careful. What was your experience?
Oh Lord. Well, we were banned from the playoffs my first year at Hickory Ridge.
After the fight.
No, this is what happened. Remember, there was no brawl. Like when you posted brawl on the thing, then they revisited the situation. We never threw one punch the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
The situation is this, okay? And if you want me to break it down, break it down. There was a kid at Butler that died that day. We played on a Monday, okay? We played down the road at East Meck on that Monday, okay? One of the former players that played at East Meck moved into Harrisburg, was playing there. We were up, I don't know, 35, 40-something to nothing, okay, going into the fourth quarter. And they took that kid. I should have had him off on special teams. You just don't think about taking your ones off on special teams. You're punting the ball or whatever. He goes on a punt. Well, they take him off to the sideline. They beat on that kid for about 3 minutes, and I held everybody back. I'm like, no. Don't go nowhere. They didn't go nowhere. Then the kid got dragged to the daggone stands, and the people in the stands were getting involved. I was fearful for that kid could get hurt really bad or die, especially the stuff that happened on earlier in the day. I took off and ran. Players came with me. We grabbed our guy, went back because it was life or death situation. I told the official, I said, I don't think we need to play. I looked at the other coach and I said, I think this game's over with. What do you think? And he's like, yeah. And then the official was like, okay, we'll end the game. All right, that was it. We move on, and it was like a brawl. Brawl means multiple people fighting, like from both sides. That's not what happened. We had video proof of all this stuff. They still stick to the black and white rule, and I don't think everything's a black and white rule. There's some gray area in situations you need to look into, and that's what I'm talking about. That right there, if you want to look at it, affected my career and my family based upon something I was trying to do the right thing. Does that make sense? I know that there's rules and stuff, but that's the situation.
All right. Gary, I want to get your thoughts on this COVID thing that's going around. We heard tonight there's two more local teams that may lose games. We heard yesterday that Audrey Kell's out. In the eastern part of the state, there's some teams in Wilmington and Fayetteville are going to be out. Your thoughts about what's going on? What should we do? And we talked about no gloom and doom, but here we are again.
No, we have to.
Yeah, it's sad, but now that we have the vaccines, and somebody I saw brought up a good point today that the government is paying for everything COVID related, as far as the testing, the vaccines, and it seems like, I don't want to mandate. Well, I do, but I know it's not possible. I think you should mandate the vaccine, but that's my personal opinion. But if you're not going to do that, I do understand that on the physical forms in most districts this year, because athletes have to take a physical before the season, there is a box on there checked if a kid had been vaccinated or not for COVID. And if there's a kid that comes down with COVID, I don't think they should penalize the whole team and quarantine the whole team due to contact tracing. I think that the kids that are vaccinated should be allowed to continue to play, and those that are unvaccinated should be tested after, I don't know what the incubation period is. I think it's 48 to 72 hours. They should be tested after the incubation period, and if they come back negative, they should be allowed to continue to play. I think, one or two kids getting COVID and then penalizing 100 kids and coaches is just not fair. That is not a HIPAA violation. Kids are already required to take other vaccines in order to go to public schools. I think coaches, if they choose not to take the vaccine and one of their players comes down with it and they get caught up in the contact tracing, then that's the penalty they have to pay for not taking the vaccine. So that's my opinion. I think that's how they're doing it in college and the pros. They go straight to the contact tracing. Whoever the positive case has been around, if they've been vaccinated, they continue to play. Those that haven't been vaccinated, they get quarantined. I don't think you should quarantine a whole team if you have members of a team that are vaccinated.
Okay. Grace, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm, regardless of where we are, I mean, I'm against a mandate, in regards, any sort of vaccine at this point. Personally, I am vaccinated, but my understanding of the rules as they exist now is that for vaccinated participants in high school athletics, if you're in a situation where someone catches COVID, contact tracing does not exist for vaccinated participants. It's only merely the test, and if you do have COVID or if you do not, dictate whether or not you can continue to participate with your team. So again, as we're speaking to our players, we provide the rules, and clearly there is an advantage to vaccination. But I don't know if I'm completely for telling everyone you have to get vaccinated. I think you look at the situation, and as we look at anything else, make the best decision for you. And hopefully, as members of a team, you'll do the right thing that you think is best for everyone else. So, it is unfortunate, but we understood that COVID would still be here. And again, as the Delta variant continues to expand, we do have that vaccine available. And I think we have to continue to push on. We're following all protocol. I think we're actually going above and beyond, since the NCHSAA doesn't have, mandated rules we have to follow, only best practices. But I think a lot of teams are out there going above and beyond to do what they can to stay in compliance.
Yeah. Chris just said that 9 teams in North Carolina are quarantined right now. Chelsea, from a student's perspective, how's this hitting you that here we go again, face mask and games being postponed? Just what are your thoughts? I know Sanderson may have had an issue as well.
Yeah, as far as going back to school, this will be my junior year and everyone's looking forward to, sports, a regular high school year. And in Raleigh, we have the mask mandate. And I know for our football team, we had some COVID cases. So it's not officially announced, but I do think we'll be missing our first game this upcoming Friday. Our volleyball team had a case of COVID. And what they did with that situation was, if you were vaccinated, you could come back to the next week of tryouts. And if you were not, then you had a quarantine. So yeah, I just think, it is kind of like, we thought we got over it, we were looking forward to a normal year, but now we have the same things coming back. And it's, a question like, we're going in school, but now will we be online? So it's kind of all over the place.
It really is, Chelsea. And first and foremost, welcome here to the big show. It's great to have you on here with the team. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. I know you've got Chelsea's World here coming up, and I'm anxious to get to that. Langston, I'm not sure. Do we have any theme music? Do we need to drop it? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But anyway, tell us who you interviewed, and even before you get to the interview part, if a student athlete wants you to interview them, kind of talk about the process to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I'm open to interviewing any student athlete in North Carolina. If anyone wants to reach out, want to be featured on the show, my Twitter is at Chelsea Sipple. My DMs are open, and I'd love to schedule a Zoom or StreamYard, get an interview on the show. And for who I interviewed this week, I interviewed senior O-line Corey Ball Jr. from Huff High School. And so we talked about his senior year, the expectations for his football team, and just everything going into this season.
Well, wow, Chelsea, I'm happy to see you really grow with this. I'm excited to see this video. Langston, let's go ahead and roll this video.
And this is Corey Ball Jr. from Huff High School, and he is a class of 2022 O-line. So, Corey, first I want to ask you, this will be your senior year, and just coming off of the summer, talk about some things you've done to prepare for this upcoming season.
So coming off of last season, I had an ankle injury from the last Vans game. So coming off of that, I just been trying to get myself right, get my ankle back in shape. I've been going to a couple camps. I've been lifting a lot. So I've just been trying to get back right for the first game of the season.
What's the expectation for this season, and what are some of the goals y'all have as a team?
Like Coach Dinkins says, we just want to go 1-0 every week. And after we go 1-0 every week, make a strong run in the playoffs. And I think we have a championship caliber team. So I feel like we can get to the state championship this year. We can win it all. It's at Huff, it's like a brotherhood. It's like everybody there. We all have one common goal. Our common goal is just to win a state championship. Our coaches very hard. But they also all have love for us. So it's like, they all do it. They all coach us hard out of love. Like Coach Jenkins, Coach Olsen, Coach Johnson, Coach Chachi, they all coach us very hard. And the coach we have there is very good.
Great. And then this will be your senior year. So how do you step up as a leader and guide the team?
I try to lead by example and be a role model for the team, whether it's in like the weight room, the classroom, or on the field. Like I try to be a role model to the freshmen, the sophomores, even the juniors that's coming up to varsity. And I try to be the person they can look after.
For sure. And then finally, what matchup are you most looking forward to this season?
I'm not looking for a particular game. We're trying to get better every single week and win every single week. Because after every game, we will get better and better. So I'm just looking forward to every game.
Wow, incredible job, Chelsea. Again, I'm just so happy to see the growth that you're experiencing right here, and I can't wait.
You gotta be all serious. What's this man doing?
Thank you.
He looks like Bane from Batman.
I want football. Hopefully you can hear me.
I
want football.
I think we need some Darth Vader music, Langston.
Yeah.
I will double math.
Look, we got a new segment. With Dale. You guys, he did his thing last year where he drunk some, what was that you drank? Hot sauce. And so we decided we're going to give Dale his own cooking segment. It's called Cooking with Dale, but I think we're going to change the name to something else. What you call it, Dale? Would you or would you not?
Langston, what happened was I just started deciding, really based on that hot sauce thing. There are lots of things that I eat or drink that a lot of people would not. And so I thought I'd start doing this would you or wouldn't you thing. And so I did one and put it up on Facebook. And I guess that's the one you're going to show.
We're going to drop it in next week. You have to film new ones now.
So I think what I'll do is a real short one, just like this one is. This one's very short. And then I'm going to try to do something a little bit serious with the rest of that time to maybe talk about smoking meat.
Like that.
I'd like to hear from people, but because I do like to eat, unfortunately or fortunately. My motto is if you
like to eat. See, you missed it when we all got together at Boardwalk Village the other day. You missed it.
I know.
But Gary had like, Gary, what was that thing you had, Gary? You had a big pot or something, like big as the table.
Oh, I had a steam pot.
Steam pot. That's what it was.
Steam pot with the crab legs, oysters, and shrimp.
Yeah, see,
Oysters.
see, we take care of our co-hosts on Talking Preps.
Yeah, king crab.
All right, so let's see what Dale has going on. Let me find it. What did I call it? What would you not? Would you not?
First of why wouldn't you or would you? This one is why wouldn't you? Cheerwine float. So, so I grew up, floats when I was young. And Chelsea, you like cheerwine?
I actually don't.
You don't, because the cheerwine float's awesome.
What kind of ice cream was it, Dale?
Huh?
What kind of ice cream?
Well, usually you do a float with vanilla, but that was strawberry ice cream.
Okay.
So that turned out to be that's a very good float. So,
well, before we move ahead with doom and gloom here, and I'm still going to hold out hope, cheerwine will remain always.
I hear you, Alex.
All right, let's move ahead with doom and gloom. See if we can do rapid fire response here as we go along and get this first one going. So. All right, first doom and gloom of this fall 2021 football season. Let's do this rapid fire response style. Hopefully we move quickly enough that we can get some games in this year. So let's go. New chicken sandwich wars, Popeyes, KFC, Bojangles, Zaxby's, or Chick-fil-A. Who's got to go? Chelsea, who's going?
KFC.
Dale.
It's got to be quick.
Yes,
so
rapid fire.
Rapid fire. All right, rapid fire. I haven't had Zaxby's. Zaxby stays because I got to try Zaxby's. I'm kicking out KFC.
Gary.
KFC.
Zaxby's. All right, Olympic event that we need to see less of. Which one has to go? Gymnastics, track and field, swimming and diving, volleyball, or basketball? Dale, start us off.
Oh, man. So out of these, see, this is real tough because I'm in traditional about what Olympics are about. I'd almost have to say basketball or volleyball. The other sports are just traditional Olympic, individual, athletic performance sports. The others are team sports.
Gary.
Well, you can see basketball anytime. So I almost said that one, but being a former basketball coach, I always want to watch. So the one that I got bored with the most during the Olympics was swimming and diving.
Chelsea.
I gotta get rid of swim and dive or watch less of it. I love Team USA basketball.
First and foremost, praised be USA swimming and diving, including Claire Curzon, Cardinal Gibbons High School class of 2022 Olympic silver medalist in the 4x100 meter freestyle and the 4x100 meter relay. So we're keeping swimming. Gymnastics can go. I said less of it. No, praise be Simone Biles as well. But what can go are rhythmic gymnastics. I still haven't figured out that floor exercise with those ribbon.
That's fair enough.
And the ball that they throw up, I haven't figured out any of that stuff. So praise be Simone Biles and all of her Team USA mates who were absolutely remarkable. But less gymnastics. This ball and ribbons and less gymnastics. All right. Lastly, barbecue food. Which one's going to go? Pulled pork, pulled chicken, ribs, brisket, or smoked sausages? Gary, start us off.
Oh, man. I love all of them. And but if I have to do without one, I guess it would be the pulled chicken.
Chelsea?
Brisket. It's what I don't touch at a cookout.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah, I like them all, and I can make chicken taste wonderful, but it's the least of the barbecue things on there. So brisket's got to go.
Brisket.
Excuse me, pulled pork's got to go. Brisket's got to go here.
The pulled pork is going to stay. Praise be Sam Jones Barbecue in Winterville down in Pitt County and now in Raleigh. At a barbecue itself, the smoked sausages are going to go. Smoked sausages are great, but within this quintet, the smoked sausages can go. And there you have it, our first week of doom and gloom. Hopefully, a whole lot less of doom and gloom. Thanks to the one and only Miss Chelsea Sipple for being with us here this evening. We look forward to your manifold contributions throughout this year. Give our very best to everyone at Sanderson, as I know it's a little tough right now as the year's getting going. But give our very best to Sanderson and legendary Spartans Athletics Director and Hall of Famer David Neal. So, Chelsea, you have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
That is doom and gloom.
All right, guys. And by the way, we are keeping that pulled pork. There's no way in the world I'm getting rid of that good barbecue sandwich. But, guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the Grice is Right. Like
Hey, Sam, hey, Langston asked me for a new picture, but heck, by the time we get to game one, heck, that might be the same picture for week number.
I was thinking the same thing, Bryce.
I was like, man,
back to the mask.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have an unmasked coaching picture for the next few years, but I'm glad it's back. So, hey, Griner, I think that's where kind of the money for our coach versus coach went, though. I tell you, every time I see that, I get nervous, man. Spending money on me, we got to keep producing. We got the guru here, man. That's the best host this side of the Mississippi, though, with Chris Hughes. Chris, and I'll give it back to you, though. Before we get to the game of the week, let's go top 25. Your ranking of the best games out here.
All right, guys. Well, let's take a look at it here from the top. There have been a few changes to it. I think we got them in there. My top game of the week is Chambers, the two-time defending state champions, heading up Highway or Interstate 85 to 40 up to Raleigh to Alex Bass territory to take on Cardinal Gibbons. You know, Gibbons is one of those up-and-coming powers. Huff taking on Myers Park. That's a Thursday night game. I mean, these are probably two of the best collections of talent in the state of North Carolina between those two teams right there. Richmond County heading up to take on the defending state champions, Mount Tabor. Clayton at Grimsley, you know, they're really good. Mallard Creek at Butler Grice. I know you got a big interest in that one right there. Huge game. Eastern Alamance at Eastern Randolph. Charlotte Christian at Weddington. Tarboro at Rocky Mount. That's a big one. Hey, but here's the one I want to talk about right now. Charlotte Catholic. That's Senator Sawyer's favorite team. Taking on South Mecklenburg on Thursday.
That's going to be a big one right there, man. I think, shout out to friend of the show, Coach Joe Evans, of course, with the bolster of Jacob Newman coming in there, running back. I think he even, would probably say himself that he's either right on or maybe even ahead of schedule with his rebuild of the program. And I mean, I think he's going to get that big test with Charlotte Catholic's first game back in the back into the 4A to kind of show that they're reemerging in that area. I think that game's going to be interesting from the Catholic side first, because again, we talk about them coming back in 4A, ironically coming back a little bit, more down as compared to when they left it. I mean, last 2 years they've been handled pretty well by Weddington, even in a weird way, while still winning state titles. They come into the 4A Fight Club, where I think it's going to be tough. But this one's one of those intriguing games where I could see either team winning and kind of build a narrative from there. But it's one of those where both teams want to get off to a great start. And what a feather in Joe Evans' cap it would be to really turn that South Mecklenburg program to new heights by claiming that Charlotte Catholic victory.
Well, you're right, Grice, and Coach Evans and that South team's won 4 in a row. But we had a chance to sit down with the coaches from both teams this week. So here's a chance what they had to say. Let's roll it.
What do you say to people who think that maybe Catholic's not going to, do the Catholic thing in 4A?
Playing up one level, and we had the split 4A when we were small 4A and 4 AA. what is a huge difference. I mean, I've played Mallard Creek and when Mike was there, and they're just physically bigger and stronger than us because of the numbers game. I think any given day I can play one of those games and give them a decent game and have a shot to win. But the gauntlet of going through a Chambers and a Huff and a Myers Park and a Butler and just those four schools, not even adding in there, you start throwing in a West Forsyth and Grimsley and those type of schools like that. I just worry about we're 1,100 kids and we're a good football program, but it's still I kind of put it like this, that like a North Dakota State has won like 4 or 5 1AA type championships, are being so successful to say, okay, now you go up there and you play Alabama. You go, gosh, they'll play them a little bit. But I just think the numbers game wears us down.
How important is it for you guys to get off to a good start, and what's it going to take to beat South Macon Memorial Stadium, because they come in with a lot of momentum?
Oh yeah, I mean, Joe's done a great job. I mean, he can talk. I mean, when he took that job, he and I have talked a lot, and I told Joe when he asked us, are we going, like last year, talking about our contract was up, and I said, Joe, I'll always play you until you don't want to play us anymore, because it's a great rivalry. We've had the little upper hand at times this year, but I think it's because Joe's turned it around. He's got a lot of kids that he started as a sophomore that are going to be now seniors, so he's excited to play us. They're not going to be scared of us. They're not intimidated by us because we're right across the street. We played each other, so we both kind of know each other. And Joe's done a good job. When he was at AK, we butted heads with him in games. So again, he knows our style of football. He knows what it takes to beat us, and I think he's going to have his kids prepared. It's exciting to go down Memorial Stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. What the city did to upgrade the facilities there. Us to play on Thursday night before everyone else does is kind of exciting. So like anything, Joe and I are big believers in the high school experience and having these kids, these seniors and this year's team be able to experience that is really is what we're all about as coaches, is put these kids to have a great experience that they can learn from, grow from, and remember for years down the road.
Coach, you lost 14 games in a row, and all of a sudden last year you caught lightning in a bottle. You won the last 4. How did you do that, and how much of that carries over to this year?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, that all the credit goes to our kids. When we had our first season there, we were 0-11, played the toughest schedule in the state, and our kids didn't quit, man. They didn't quit. They saw the vision, they saw what we were going to do. And they stuck with it. In today's times with kids and young student athletes, it's easier just to quit. So to my guys' credit, they didn't quit. I didn't lose coaches. My coaches stayed. They saw the vision. So all the credit goes to them. But it's one of those things going forward where last year wasn't good enough.
All right. So you talked about 4-3 not being good enough. You get a really good shot to find out how good you are. Week 1 this Thursday. With your cross street rival there, Charlotte Catholic?
Yeah. Against Charlotte Catholic, who's a really, really well-coached team. I've been telling my guys for months, we've been focused on that, that you can't turn the ball over and you can't put yourself in long down and distances. You can't have penalties. You can't have, dumb plays and things that are going to set you back. They're a really well-coached group of young men. Coach Brodowitz and his staff does a great job. It's something that, we've been looking forward to. We didn't get to play them last year because we had to play an abbreviated schedule. My first year there, we really didn't feel like we had enough time to get prepared. This has actually been my only true off season I've had with my team since I've been there. Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to the challenge. We're looking forward to playing in a great event. Because I was coaching the Independence in that first kickoff classic. Yeah. We played against South Mech. So. It's a great event. Being a Charlotte kid and seeing what they've done, man, over there at Memorial Stadium. Growing up watching Shrine Bowls in that place and watching big championship games and big, Harding and West Charlotte games and stuff, and seeing what they've done with that facility, man, it makes me proud. It really does make me proud to be a 704 kid.
All right, guys, we heard what Coach Brodowicz and Coach Evans had to say. I think this is a big game, by the way. I think it could go right down to the wire. I love that Coach Brodowicz talked about the whole Memorial Stadium, the renovation. I can't wait to see it. So before I go to the rest of the top 25 games, I want to give you guys a chance to respond to these two coaches. Coach Griner, I want to start with you because I know you've got a great relationship with both of them, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two of the top guys that I talk to as much as I can. They're very knowledgeable of the game. What Joe has done at South Meck is phenomenal. I'm hoping that I can do that at West Charlotte, be able to turn it around and really get them rolling. I think that the weight room is just such a critical factor in the South Meck program that it's going to allow them to compete with the Catholics because now the athletes, they can out-athlete Catholic, but Catholic has always been so sound and disciplined. You're going to have to overwhelm them with strength. And I think that they have big tackles. They have the ability to run the ball with a different style. But Brodowicz, I mean, you're a 4-time state champ. Is it 4-time or 5-time almost?
4 in a row.
Four. Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. I don't care if it was 3A, 4A, or whatever. That's unbelievable. So, like I said, they're the team to beat in this game. But I'm actually going to be at the game. I'll be trying to listen in and get some pointers throughout those games.
Gary, what's your thoughts?
After winning 4 state championships, Coach Brodowicz made me feel sorry for him almost.
Yeah.
He's won 4 state championships, and I feel sorry for him because he's talking about what they don't have compared to Mallard Creek and some of the other big boys. And I was like, man, this guy's good.
Yeah,
he really is.
That's that light rock. Maybe
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh, man! It makes you feel like he's the underdog here, and I think
I was like, God,
that is what he wants.
He must give the best pregame speeches in the world. And then I started saying, and then what also kicked in was the interview we had earlier with the legislature, and I was like, why is everybody picking on Catholic? Then I had to remember they won 4 state championships. Why am I feeling sorry for them? Joe is going to do a great job at South, but that is a backyard rivalry. That's what makes that game so interesting is the fact that they're not more than 2 blocks apart.
Yeah, maybe.
So, all kids know each other. The parents know each other. They're going to be tailgating together out there, and Memorial Stadium. Oh, it's gorgeous now. I mean, that's going to be a great setting. So, it's going to be a very interesting game. I would give Catholic the advantage just because they know how to win, and South Meck is learning how to win.
I agree with you there, Gary. And I mentioned this earlier today on a message board at NC Preps. I think this is a game. I definitely think South is going to be in it to the bitter end. But I think this is the kind of game that could go down to a special teams mistake, a fumble really late in the game, maybe an extra point missed or a field goal blocked. But I think this is definitely has the potential to be a really close game because, guys, if you have not paid attention, South has won 4 in a row, and they're really good. Hey, Grace, I want to get to your expert breakdown of this game and the others here in a second. Langston, we're going to go through this bottom half of these top 25 games real quick. Obviously, you see Western Alamance at Reidsville, State Power right there. Reidsville does nothing but win championship, guys. Drone and Thomas Jefferson, those are 2 top 5, top 10 1A teams. Lee County at Northwood, Monroe at Marvin Ridge, big Union County battle. Breaking news right here. I actually had a hand in putting this game together today with both coaches. Pisgah is now going to go down to Bowling Springs to take on Crest. Brevard was supposed to play Pisgah. They got COVIDed out, so that's a big game. Asheville going to 1A Power Robbinsville, Wallace Rose Hill at East Bladen, Havelock and Croatan. But I mentioned earlier the big game between Myers Park and Huff. We also had a chance to talk to both of those coaches, so let's roll that film real fast.
Yeah, we're here with Huff football coach Matthew Jenkins. Hi, Coach. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Langston.
Absolutely, man. I wanted to ask you about this team. 14 starters back, 31 lettermen. I know you're losing your big defensive lineman, Curtis Neal, but tell me how good Huff's going to be.
Yeah. Hey, listen, the jury's always out. You know how it goes. It's, it's early. Everybody has promise right now. but everybody's got questions. We've had a great offseason. The kids have worked their tails off. We've had a great fall camp. I'm excited to go watch them play on Thursday against Myers Park, and it should be a really good football game. We have the potential to be pretty good, but again, potential is only potential. We've got to go out and perform on the field.
How up are the guys after last year? You kind of gave Chambers, you beat them, you gave them their toughest games. A lot of people felt you're probably the second best team in the state. How ready are you guys to kind of get started this year to kind of finish off what you started a year ago?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, there's a team that still thinks we're the first best team in the state last year. So, I think there's just a ton of enthusiasm for athletics in general right now. I've got 44 freshmen in our program. That's the most we've ever had. We're always excited when the season starts in our program, because it's a chance for this group of young men to prove who they are and prove how good they can be. And more than anything else, live up to their potential, and that's the thing we talk about. We don't talk about winning state championships. We don't talk about any of that kind of stuff around our place. We talk about just playing to our potential and being the best version of who we can possibly be.
Myers Park starting out of the gate, that's become a little bit of a rivalry, I guess, ever since they came up to your place a couple of years ago. How big a rivalry is it? Do you view it as a rivalry? And then what do you have to do to win it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the rivalry thing, it's sometimes I think it gets overblown a little bit with everybody. I mean, when you're in a league with people, often that becomes rivalries. I think we're just excited because we know they're a great program. It's a great school. They're a great program. Coach Fuller has done a great job with them so far this summer, from what I understand, and he did a really, really nice job last year defensively with them as we've kind of watched some film and kind of scouted them a little bit. I think a lot of people see them very similar to us as far as the type of program and that kind of thing. So, we're excited about the opportunity to compete early on against another good program.
All right, so we're here with Myers Park head football coach Curtis Fuller. How's that sound to you, Coach?
It's good. It's good. The closer we get to that date, a week from the day, basically, it feels even better. So a lot of excitement in the community, a lot of excitement on our football team. So we're getting ready to go. We're not there yet, but we're getting ready to go.
I think you guys probably one of the bigger question marks going into the season. We're hearing there's a lot of talent over there. We've seen some of the guys that have left and gone to other places. Tell us about, I know you got a big time receiver from basically, where you were living in Katy, Texas. Tell us about the team and some of the new faces and what you're expecting to see.
Well, I think it starts, with getting our guys on board from the standpoint of the guys that we've had here, that have been here, really trying to change the culture. Langston, trying to improve things from a practice-oriented standpoint, functionality, and offense and defense. We have a lot of moving pieces right now. Just like everybody in the community, we got guys that are here, we got guys that are not here because of vacation, guys that are hurt. So really for me, the most important thing right now is making sure we get back to the fundamentals of football. That's blocking on offense, that's tackling on defense, no matter who's in there, and protecting the quarterback and not allowing the deep ball.
Okay, you want to not talk about names, but I'm going to talk about names. Amir Turner out of Cypress Lakes, Texas, big-time transfer, big-time Division I player. You got him, you got Cameron Thornton, another D1 recruit, and you got Lucas Lindhoff. Are you going to continue to throw the ball over the yard? It sounds like it, or is it going to be a little bit of a change?
I mean, to be honest with you, we have some very talented receivers. We really do. We got some shiny new toys, as I like to call it. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to do what's best for our football team. And it may be what's in the best interest of our football team that we throw the ball 50 or 60 times because we have the athletes and the quarterback to do it. I think there's a time and a place for that. And I also think there's a time and a place to turn around and hand the ball off. I have all the trust in the world in Lucas. I have all the trust in the world in Cameron and the offensive line and what Big E's doing. And, we'll put the ball in those guys' hands and they'll make plays. My job is to not handcuff that side of the ball because they are talented. And so, for me, my goal is, first and foremost, protect the football. And I told Lucas, it's okay to punt the ball. It's okay to take a sack every once and then. But it's also okay to get the ball to those guys, too, and let them make a play and let them score. So I'm excited about that offensive side of the ball.
Is this a team that can make a similar run to last year?
Well, I think it's going to start with Huff. I think, in my opinion, being around football, it's always those first 4 weeks of the season where you find out who you really are. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not going to stand on that, but maybe ask me that after the Buford game or after the Reagan game, and I think I'll have a better answer to that.
All right, 13 starters back, 39 Letterman. What do you have to do to beat Huff in this kickoff classic special Thursday night game going back to Memorial Stadium? You've never been to Memorial Stadium, but
No, sir.
going back to Memorial Stadium, they've redone it. It's beautiful right in the heart of the city. But what do you got to do to win that game?
I think, honestly, we got to take care of the football. I think it starts there. I think we got to play good defense. They got a phenomenal quarterback. I mean, he does a great job throwing the ball around, and they do a great job, in my opinion, scheming from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. And really it starts there in the explosive plays. We cannot give up any explosive plays on defense. And then on the flip side of that, Langston, we got to get some explosive plays. They got some good personnel. We got some good personnel. So to me, it's going to come who can stop the run and who has the less amount of turnovers. And to me, that's what's going to tip the game.
Well, guys, we heard Coach Fuller talk about those shiny new toys being all that incredible talent they've got. And I've said before that I think that these two teams may be the most talented teams collectively in the state of North Carolina. Coach Grice, what is your expert opinion on this game? Because it's a big one for Thursday night.
It's one of the biggest games to me on this slate. I mean, honestly, it was my number one game, outside of my own interest and of course, obviously the Creek Butler game. My three keys here, for me, first, Huff's got to start fast. I mean, we look at the last 2 years with the spring 2021 season, a narrow 7-0 win over Hopewell, and then a loss to Butler in 2019 in which, they dominated the game everywhere, but it felt like special teams. These last two, opening games haven't been to the Huff standards that they're traditionally used to having. So they've got to start fast. That's going to be key for them. We talk about, we're at Myers Park and all these new kids and guys that are here. While they're not unknown to maybe rivals 24/7, et cetera, they're unknown to this area. And those unknowns have to show up big. I mean, we knew Linhoff coming in last year was one of those guys. And I think he's established himself in this area as one of the best quarterbacks, in Charlotte area, plus, maybe even considering the state. These new guys have to come in and show their worth and show up big in week one. I mean, you're facing a Huff team that's star-studded and talented on that side. These guys really have to be up to their billing there. And I think finally, even as as Coach Fuller tried to evade the question, I thought that was a pretty evasive interview. You clearly can hear he wants to throw the football. As someone who throws the football a lot and likes to, you can clearly hear he wants to throw the football. He's got the right team and the right matchup in Huff, and as we know, Chachi Sullivan keeps a few D1 DBs clearly on that team. So to me, whoever wins that battle between Linhoff, getting that ball to his talented receivers, and those D1 DBs, whoever wins that matchup to me is going to win that game. Linhoff throws a couple picks. I think we're going to see Huff really kind of settle down under second-year coach OC Kevin Olson and really get that ball down the field with their own D1 quarterback and really be able to take control of that game. So to me, it's exciting clearly because we play both of those teams, but also just in the grand scheme to me in the state in 4A and determining who the real kings of 4A are and who are the pretenders with their shiny new toys. So it's going to be an exciting game. I wish I could be there to watch it, but clearly I'll see the tape of it throughout the week.
Well, great job, Grice.
All right.
We got to get out of here, man. I think,
All right. The Grice is always right, but even still, we got a new segment this week. We've asked the guru, Chris Hughes, to talk about, I guess we might want to hold our breath here, whatever's on his mind. All right, Chris, what you got?
Well, I had to hold my breath. I put a clock. I put a clock to this segment. Langston called me up. He said, "Hey, I got this idea. Let's roll with it." I did this. It was very hard-hitting, fast-paced, 60 seconds. It was hard to get maybe 5 topics in 60 seconds, but we had fun with it. I only got it done in one take, so I'm really happy about that. But hey, I'm ready to go with it, Alex.
The guru, Chris Hughes, talking South Carolina football and how much harder it is to win a state championship now than ever before. Check it out. Roll the tape.
All right, Talking Preps fans, this is Chris Hughes, and this is a new segment that we're going to call 60 Seconds with Chris. Langston Works came up with the idea, and what we're going to do is we're going to start a timer, 60 seconds, and I'm going to go over 3 or 4 of the top topics in the state as quickly as possible. So let's go ahead and wind that clock up. Get ready to count her down. 3, 2, 1, boom, and we're off. All right, North Carolina versus South Carolina. We saw some of our top teams cross the border this week and go play some jamborees in South Carolina, and were them facilities sweet. Who's got the better facilities? North Carolina, we got Cherokee. It's amazing. Asheville, beautiful. Cardinal Gibbons, they've got fields for miles, looks great. South Carolina, though, you got Dorman, it looks like a college. Dutch Fork, it's like a pro facility. But Spartanburg, oh, is it sweet. They win it. South Carolina's the best. Right now, it's a heart of the win a state championship in North Carolina with the full classifications. Right now, it's 95.5 teams per championship. Before, when it was subdivided in 8, it was only 47. Of course, it's harder now. I think a happy medium would be 6, which would be about 63 teams per champion. Is Raleigh football down? I don't know. Really, is it? Wake Forest has won 3 titles recently. Rolesville has really trimmed that gap. And boy, Cardinal Gibbons, it's an emerging power. And finally, 8-man football. Should we do it in North Carolina? I think we should. 8-man should be here to stay. Oh, I hear the bell. Let me finish that thought. Think about it. South Davidson, Union, Mattamuskeet, Columbia, Rosman. That would be some great football in 8-man action. Help those schools a lot. That has been 60 Seconds with Chris. We'll catch you next week. I told you it's fast paced.
It was 60 seconds. Never enough with the guru right there, but we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely, man. It was a lot of fun, but I think we're going to roll right here into Chris's corner. I don't know if we got any music for this, Langston. All right, this is the segment where I'm going to rank every team, or where we're going to rank the top 20 power rankings for each classification.
427?
Well, there's only 382 that play football.
Oh, okay. So 382.
You and Langston challenged me to rank every football team in the state of North Carolina, and here's the chance where we're going to do it. We're going to start right here with the 1A. Obviously, you got Tarboro, the defending state champions, right there, number 1. But Mountain Heritage, look out for Joey Robinson's Cougars coming up from the 2A, going down from the 2A. Murphy, there you see the list right there. Eastern Randolph coming down from the 2A. Robbinsville State Power. Thomas Jefferson, I mentioned them earlier. Mitchell, Mount Harry. Winston-Salem Prep, they got like 2 D1 guys on there. Drone, we've already mentioned them earlier. But you can see the list right here going down through the 1A. There are some really good teams. There's also some teams, though, you get down here towards the bottom half of it, that you'll see the records. These records, by the way, guys, are from spring football that took place back in February through May. As you get further down this, you're going to start to see some teams that really did not have a chance to play some football. We got some really good teams down there, but like Washington County, for instance, Coach Larry Dale asked him how his team was doing this year. And granted, they're ranked 39th. And he said, man, Chris, we look like a team that hadn't played football in 2 years. So you're going to see some of these teams down there towards the bottom. It's not that I'm trying to rank them near the bottom. It's just really an unfortunate fact that they didn't play a lot of football, if any, last year. So, that's just kind of why they are where they are. By the way, guys, we're going to put these on the Charlotte Observer tomorrow morning, so you guys will be able to see the whole list. And I think we've got the 2A coming up right now. Maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Alex? Do we have the 2A?
2A coming up.
Here we go.
Take us away. A familiar name at the top right there.
I was going to say, are you really surprised that Reidsville's the number 1 team in the 2A? I'm not. There you see right there, Burns, Shelby. Monroe's a team that I really flirted with going to the number 1 team in the 2A ranks. I really think that Coach Johnny Sal's Red Hawks are for real. Shalik Knotts is one of the best, if not one of the best athletes that I've seen in recent memory. By the way, he committed to Maryland yesterday. That's a huge acquisition for the Terps. Salisbury right there, the defending state champions. Jalen Walker right there is one of the best athletes I've seen. Northeastern up there in Elizabeth City, incredible. Clinton, St. Paul's. You just look down here down the list. Wallace Rose Hill at number 11, exceptionally fast, really talented. Chase there at 16th. They're really good. Whiteville, number 17. I think I may have got them a little bit too low. I think Whiteville is a tremendous state championship contender. Robinson's going to be tough out of Concord, Mount Pleasant. I mean, look here at these 20 through 26, 27, 28 teams. These are some phenomenal phenomenal football teams. And even as far down, we got it there at the bottom of the screen, Midway, Red Springs, Cummings. Cummings has a tremendous quarterback. They're coming in here at number 37. We'll kind of quickly scroll through here to the bottom. Again, guys, if you're watching this, you can check it out tomorrow morning on the Charlotte Observer to really look at this and break down the entire rankings for yourself. 2A is a very competitive league. There you see number 64, Community School of Davidson. They had a phenomenal year. 63 Pine Lake Prep, Community School of Davidson. Two teams coming up from the 1A. I think that they're going to be some really formidable teams. Kind of getting down here near the bottom. And again, you kind of have some teams that didn't have a chance to play a lot of football last year. Seaforth there at number 101. By the way, they will not play a varsity season, guys. They're going to strictly stay to JV this year. Easter Rutherford as well. They're not going to play varsity. So, they're kind of relegated there to the end. And here we're going to move quickly, guys, to the 3A classification once Langston gets the graphic up here on the screen. Number 1 ranked team in the state, Greenville Rose. The Rose Rampants are going to be phenomenal, guys. They might be able to score about every 4, 5, 6 plays once you start breaking down their offensive possessions. This may be one of the strongest teams in the state. Lee County, I flirted with putting them number 1. Exceptionally talented team. Greensboro Dudley, they're great. Scotland County, they're going to be tough moving down from 4A. Havelock, incredible team. Eastern Alamance is a very senior-heavy team. Once you kind of get down here, though, Crest, we know that Crest is always good. They're going to be phenomenal on defense. I don't know how tough they'll be on the offensive side. They've got some gaps that they need to kind of fill. Jacksonville's a team that I really like. And when we'll go through this list, you see Kings Mountain, they're 13, had that phenomenal performance Saturday night.
Chris, hold on a second. I put him on the screen because I wanted to get his reaction to you put him at 18.
Hey, well, let's do it, Coach Griner. Hey, and by the way, I think that you guys are going to be a tough team. Let's hear it.
He's mad.
Yeah, I don't even know half those teams' names are in front of us.
They're watching.
That's fine. They can take it down, write a note, take a picture, whatever they got to do. It ain't going to matter. They got to play between the lines, and I don't think they want that smoke right now.
Oh, here we go. Okay, now he's getting himself in trouble. I'm going to take him out, and I'm going to let you finish.
No, hey, I welcome any criticism. And by the way, I know that Coach Griner's team is going to be phenomenal. And, yeah, they've got a tough schedule to go through in that conference. But once they get to the playoffs, man, they're going to be hard to handle. You see East Lincoln right there, phenomenal. They've got a great quarterback. They've got 4 great receivers. Their defense is legit, guys. That's going to be a fun team to watch. You see South Point down there. 71st is a strong team coming up from the 4A. Wilson Hunt, JB Hunt, just looking at these, Walter Williams, brand new coach. Concord's moved up to 40th, guys. I think the Concord Spiders are going to be a little bit better team than we've seen from them. Another team that I've kind of got my eyes on is High Point Central there in 46. We'll kind of scroll up through the listings right here, just to kind of see some of the back half of the 3A rankings. Again, we ranked each and every one. There's 106 teams in the 3A. There you see some of the Rowan County schools, my Douglas Byrd Eagles, my South Rowan Raiders right there coming in at number 87. Hopefully they can kind of work their way up to the top. Again, towards the bottom, you got some teams that didn't play, Lake Norman Charter, Cedar Ridge, Cata, and these are teams that's all going to have an opportunity to improve as we start the regular season here on Thursday and some of them on Friday nights. Now, here's the guys. This is the one I know all of you have been waiting for, the 4A Power Rankings. This, by the way, is the most stacked, dominant group of teams I've seen. I think you can go down to about the 65, 66 best team here in 4A and see some legitimate powers that I don't think anybody would want to face on a Friday night coming up here in November and December once the playoffs start. Remember, this year the playoffs is not subdivided. It's one big 4A playoff. It's going to be 6 rounds instead of 5. But there you see it, number 1, the 2-time defending state champions in Chambers. They bring back Dalen Summers, probably the most electric running back I've seen. Hey, I've said it before, probably since Nick Maddox. Huff, great collection of talent, great team. Grimsley, Lonzo Barnett, the second, the quarterback, incredible. We saw what they did winning the state championship a year ago. Butler, guys, I think this Butler team is for real. I have spoke with Coach Hales. He said that he thinks that they're ahead of where he thought they'd be this time of year. I think that the Bulldogs are going to be dogs again like they were in the old days. I think they're going to be a team to deal with. Rollsville, we saw them in the state championship game. Gibbons, they're on the way up. Richmond, Cleveland, Marion Hampton, one of the best players I've seen. Myers Park, they're probably a little bit better. We'll see. Newbern, Charlotte Catholic, Southview, Glenn, East Forsyth. Guys, I think this East Forsyth team is a team that can get to that final 4 or 5 teams. I think by the end of the year, they may be in the top 3. I'm telling you guys, that was probably the most legit team I've seen this past few weeks. There you see Providence, Mount Tabor, Weddington. Look at the quality of teams, even down here in the 20s. Panther Creek, Hickory Ridge, Mallard Creek, 25th. Christ, I know you're not happy about that, but you guys can only go up from here. Porter Ridge, Pine Forest, Hillside, AC Reynolds, Asheville. Asheville's a team kind of going up with the bullet. They're going to be really good. Leesville Road. Again, guys, we're only at 37th, and you can go up here to the 50s to 60s, and you're going to see teams that are just absolutely phenomenal, guys. Look there, A.L. Brown coming in at number 50. Millbrook, Davie County, Reagan. These are good football teams, guys. 60 right there. Greensboro Page, another win 0-7. But the Pirates going to be a lot better. North Meck, they're a really quality team. West Cabarrus moving up. Then you kind of get here into these teams right here that, were kind of the mid-pack of the 4A last year when it was only about 80 teams. Now we're going up to 106 teams, and these is just, I'm telling you, men and everybody else, the 4A is just absolutely rock solid loaded for this 2021 fall football season. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm out of breath.
Well, I'm not out of breath because it's imperative that when the guru speaks that we listen. So if the guru, Chris Hughes, is out of breath, then that means we're all doing something well because we are all have plenty of breath because we've been listening to Chris Hughes. So thank you, as always, Chris, for your insight, getting us excited for this upcoming season. And we're excited for coach versus coach.
Alex, you got to get out of here. You got to get excited. This is the Thunderdome. I was just so chill and so calm. Let's go. Give me that theme music, Langston.
It better be nice.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
That's what I'm talking about. Freaking Thunderdome.
I don't know about you guys, but after doing that, those races, I'm fired up.
Yeah.
It took them 4 years, but it's all right.
All right, hey, before we get to the Thunderdome, first we want to announce, we're changing the name of the North Carolina Player of the Year from the high school Heisman to Mr. Football. And of course, with the guru, we're gonna have that super team. Don't you worry about that. I think that was a big hit. We're gonna do that later this year, of course. But our biggest thing with the Mr. Football, we have a watch list. We want to make sure and kind of issue the disclaimer first that, hey, just because you're on this list does not mean you're on this list for the entire year. Guys, you can play your way on by having a phenomenal start and continuing to perform. And guys on this list, with a lack of production, you can go ahead and be escorted out of the watch list. So glad Langston's dropped this list here. Guru, I'll turn it over to you to start.
Well, guys, hey, I mentioned Greenville Rose, the number 1 team in the preseason for the 3A rankings. We can see Michael Allen, the phenomenal NC State-bound running back there, number 1. I mentioned Alonzo Barnett, quarterback at Grimsley there, number 2. And by the way, guys, these are not in statistical order. They're in alphabetical order. So don't think that I'm ranking you. Byron Brown, we remember him from the spring at Rollsville. Tate Carney, boy, does that guy score touchdowns or what? KJ Concepcion, he was a difference maker in that state championship game. Isaiah Crowell, East Forsyth DB. Mac David, guys, a lot of you guys may not know Mac David, but he is one of the strongest linebackers I've ever seen coming from you from West Forsyth. Bryce Dixon at Butler, Kavion Freshwater. Anybody that don't know, Freshwater family in Northeastern football, they are nothing but dogs. Christian Hamilton, we know a little bit about that young man. Hickory Ridge, Marion Hampton, Carolina-bound running back at Cleveland. Malachi Hamrick, another Carolina-bound linebacker at Shelby. Tad Hudson at Huff, Shalik Knotts, I mentioned him heading to Maryland, Jacob Newman, South Mecklenburg via Myers Park, James Pierce at Chambers, what a great edge rusher he is, Albert Red at Glenn, Noah Rogers, he was another one of those difference maker players in that state championship game for Coach Martin Samick's Rollsville team. Travis Shaw at Grimsley, he may be that top solid interior defensive lineman in the state. Incredible. Obviously, we got last year's Mr. Football, Dalen Summers, incredible. I mentioned he's the most electric running back I've seen in a long time. Jalen Swindell, another one at Chambers. Hey, we see a little list right here with Chambers. There's a reason these guys are the best, but they coach them up too. Taymor Thompson, or Taymor, I think I got that right. Another one of those edge rushers at Grimsley. Torrin Wright, A.L. Brown, Jalen Walker, forgot about him at Salisbury. He's heading to the Georgia Bulldogs, dog reference right here. And Carter Wyatt, he is that tough middle linebacker for Coach Brett Hickman and the West Brunswick Trojans. I'm going to throw it to you, man. This is a phenomenal football list.
Well, I mean, there ain't no West Charlotte or Mallard Creek gowns on the list, so look, we'll see.
Hey, we're coming in the future. We got a lot of young guys, 71 freshmen in our program. We got some future Mr. Footballs on there. But hey, that list is stout. Like we took time. We didn't close our eyes and choose. Like, I don't want to see any list or people atting us about highlights or saying they're being slept on, because if you're not on that list, you need to show your work and get some real competition. And apparently these colleges think so too, as every one of those guys seems to have major big time football interest.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I agree with that. List is phenomenal.
Yeah, and again, I want to reemphasize something that Coach Grice that you said a little bit ago. Just because you're not on this list today does not mean that you're not eligible to be this Mr. Football. And again, just because you are on the list don't mean that you will be. We're going to play it out on the field as it should be. But, man, I am excited about this team this season. Again, it kicks off Friday. What time is it, guys? Do you know?
Lock the door. Let's go.
Lock the door. Get the Thunderdome on. And let's get it on like Donkey Kong. Let's do it.
What we got?
All right, man. Which version of the sport will make the biggest improvement this year? College football, pro football, high school football. I'm going to start with you, Coach Grice.
For me, it's college. I think, whenever I look at the game, to me, college is the most reactionary of the three levels of football. I think you see a lot of times where you'll have one side, like, for example, the proliferation of the spread offense. That was kind of the big thing. With everybody running fast plays with Chip Kelly, it led to a lot of teams going into this 3-down Iowa State type defense and, really transforming the ball that way. Now we're starting to see offenses kind of go back the other way, where you're seeing a lot of 11 or 12 personnel, meaning the introduction of one tight end, one running back, or one running back or two tight ends, kind of reversing back to the older styles of football. And for me, you start to see those changes and those that improvement there. And I think we're starting to see a lot more big time quarterbacks every year, new quarterbacks that are freshmen, 17, 18-year-old kids coming to big time college atmospheres and acting like they've been there, 22, 23-year-old kids. You look at the DJ kid last year from Clemson, first start ever, 375 yards passing. You saw Tua and how he was able to do this at a young age. Bryce Young, we talk about, at Bama. Trevor Lawrence the same way. So many young kids that are 18, 19 years old are just coming into this game more prepared than ever. So for me, I think you'll continue to see that expound when you look at these new crop of quarterbacks and players coming into college ball.
I like that response.
Did you hear the dinger? Did you hear the ding?
Hey, new season, new toys. Hey, wait, I got to say this. I'm sorry. I've got a shiny new toy too.
I'm bringing an air horn.
All right, Coach Griner, let's see what you got.
Well, he's making some great points for college. It's fun to watch it. But the question, if you read it correctly, is which version of the sport will make the biggest improvement? Well, the biggest improvement is going to be a high school, because we get a lot more practice time. We had a summer. Remember, we did not have a summer in the spring. Okay, we literally just went straight to games, and then were conference, and then it all ended. So it wasn't much improvement you could do. You didn't even get to teach guys football. Remember, there's a lot of high school players that don't know the game at all. When you go to college, you pretty much know the game pretty well. You wouldn't have been recruited. So biggest improvement, high school.
I like that answer. Hey, that's a great question. I kind of, again, if you read into the question, I'm with you, Griner. But Grice, I love your answer, bro. I am the college football guy too. I don't care nothing about the NFL. In fact, I don't even watch it anymore.
Give me one ding.
Oh my God.
All right, let's go to question number 2. Which version of the game is most overrated? I know my answer, Coach Griner. I want to hear yours.
The most overrated would be professional. The reason why, is that they're so far behind. I think you got the best coaches in the world, outside of Belichick and stuff like that. They say best coaches in the world, but they take so long to get adaptive to the players that get in. Example, the Tim Tebow, when he played at the time, the offenses weren't advanced enough to run like a scheme to build around them like they do Lamar Jackson now. They're just always behind the curve. Now, the players are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. Those are the most elite athletes in this game of football are professional athletes. I get that. It's just the coaching, it bothers me because they're so far behind, I feel like sometimes. I feel like some of the professional coaches are going to look like what high school and colleges are doing, and having them coming in the meeting rooms and teaching them what they're trying to do. So I just think that's the biggest one.
Yeah. Hey, Grice, before you respond, I just got to say this. Can anybody believe that it only took 2 hours and 3 minutes for Coach Grinder to throw a Tim Tebow reference at us? But anyway, Coach Grice, let's see what you got.
Like, this question is so freaking like the answer obviously is pro, but for me,
to say I'm right.
I literally, if I would have went first, I would have taken that. But hey, let's flip it again. To me, honestly, we can go another way. College, honestly, is the most overrated. We know 2 teams. I can guarantee you 2 teams. If I go to Vegas, who are going to win the national championship? It's either Alabama or Clemson. That's it. We can play the whole season, Chris. You can believe in the magic of all the fun sports. It's going to be Saban or Dabo that's going to win the national championship. I'm going to Vegas right now and put my money on it. We play all these games, have all the fanfare, all the fun, all this stuff for freaking Nick Saban to hold the trophy up again, or freaking Dabo to go here and talk about bringing your own guts. That's the whole thing. It's the illusion of competition. They're giving you all these playoff games, giving you all these teams. Coastal Carolina, hey, what a great year. End of the day, it doesn't matter. If you ain't Saban, you ain't Dabo, you ain't got a chance.
I agree with you on that aspect. Because those are powerhouses. Maybe you can throw in an Oklahoma once in a blue moon.
They're going to get beat. Lincoln Riley's going to get his doors blown off by one of those 2 teams.
I'm tempted to go to Vegas today and throw down $1,000 on these 50-1 odds for Carolina to go to the playoff. I think that they've got a chance.
Let's not do that.
They got the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
All right, let's round it up tonight, gentlemen. Hey, let's throw that question back up here again. All right, let's ring it for Langston for the question, because that's the winner right there. Is the high school transfer process out of control? Coach Grice, you're up, and give me a solution.
It's not out of control. I don't. I am a big believer being a corporate guy in free enterprise, and I think it brings its way into high school sports. Everyone that transfers or goes somewhere else does not get their desired result. And I think what you're starting to see is people kind of slow down in certain areas. I think there's a quarterback division, because I love quarterbacks to death, but quarterback parents are crazy. I understand it. They're crazy. They're in their own separate stratosphere. But everyone else is starting to realize, hey, just because I can go somewhere else does not mean I'm going to get a desired result. Sam, look at your top guy. He's realizing I can stay at a 3A school, one that's not a powerhouse per se right now or competing for a state championship right now, get my D1 offer, be around a great coach and the kids that I grew up with. I think you're starting to see certain teams be able to keep guys that they're on. And even where I am, let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of kids that were a little, upset or whatever with what was going on there. We now have a lot of kids that are bought into our program that want to be where we are. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of this is that, hey, if kids want to go somewhere else and be a part of something else and diminish their role, that's fine for them if they want to put their collegiate future at stake. But what you have is a lot of opportunity for other kids that are being loyal to their programs. And I think they're reaping the benefits just like Chance is with West Charlotte. And guys are really reaping those results.
Hey, Grinder, before you respond, I want to say something real quick. Grice, I got a serious question for you. You're familiar with travel baseball, right?
Yep.
Are the quarterback parents, are they just like those dads travel baseball that like to lean up against the batting cage and watch?
Oh, for sure. 100%. I think it's a very comparable type situation. And I love quarterback dads and all, and I get it, but they are very similar to that, man. It's out of control. Sorry, Sam.
Hey, Grinder, finish up.
No, you're good. I mean, the transfer portal, like Bryce said, he made some great points. It does get a little bit out of control, but I kind of look at the reference as this: we can go back and watch the old Kevin Costner Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. And that's what it's all about. You see this in different schools in South Meg, West Charlotte. We're going to turn the page too. Got a lot of faith in our team. Are we there yet? Not yet, but we will be. We'll be relevant when the time matters. And I'm excited about it. That's what they build it, and they will come. Watch it happen.
Yeah. Agreed. Hey, before we go on, I did want to bring up one thing just for everybody. It's kind of gotten out there in the public, but I want everybody to kind of say a prayer for West Forsyth football coach Adrian Snow. Many people may or may not know, but he's been hospitalized this week in the hospital for some COVID and pneumonia. And I know he's probably one of the more popular coaches in the state. So I just want to throw that out there just so everybody can kind of throw a prayer and some thoughts out to his family and staff and players and his wife and all. But guys, this was a great show. We've had a lot of fun so far, and since everybody's back, let's send this over to Dale and Alex. Instead of quarantining the entire team, or is that where I'm at? I don't even know. Am I at the right place?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Instead of quarantining the entire team, should we just only the unvaccinated? I'm sorry, guys. I totally screwed that up. Should the unvaccinated players only and coaches be quarantined? Dale, Alex, take it away.
I'll start. I think that the unvaccinated should be quarantined. I do think that the vaccinated should not be. I do agree with the statement that Gary made that the unvaccinated test them. So if it comes out, say, on a Monday that we're needing to quarantine, let's test them again on Wednesday and maybe test them again on a game day. And if everything's negative, allow them to play.
Yeah. By the way, that was an inadvertent bell. I didn't want you to think that I was dinging what you were saying. I thought you were agreeing with what I said.
I thought I got a positive ding.
Alex.
As I've done throughout this program, I will reaffirm my support for the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, and I will adhere to the NCHSAA sport guidelines for best practices and move forward accordingly.
Wow, I was prepared to go get some dinner or something and come back. Yeah. Before we go to Sam, I got one last announcement. Thank you, all you guys still watching. A lot of you guys still watching. Thank you. I know we're running heavy. I promised you last year we weren't going to do this, and I came out heavy again. I had 2 guests. I'm sorry. I will do better. I did want you to know the Talking Press is now a podcast. You can find us on Megaphone FM right now, and very soon, hopefully later on this week, you'll be able to find us on Apple, Spotify, and all the places you find your favorite podcast locations. Next week, we got a very special announcement relative to the podcast with Dale and Grice and Chris, but I can't give it away. But next week, we got a really special announcement. I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be something that I want to see for a long time. And Grice actually came to me with an idea that I had years ago, so it's kind of cool to get it back. But Sam, we're really happy, but what's on your mind right now?
And man, football starts this week. I'm excited. That's the only thing that's on my mind. We've been grinding for the whole summer. And I know a lot of these teams, we don't play week 1, but I'm excited for these teams that are playing week 1 and praying for everybody that's not able to play. I know how important it is and how much hard work you put in praying for your teams and praying for your families to make sure that you're able to get through a successful season and it doesn't linger around too much longer and we can get through all these games.
All right. So Grice wanted to get on a 2-shot with you, Sam, before we get out of here. So I'm going to let you guys get on a 2-shot.
I just wanted to say, Griner, J.M. Robinson says they have a week 1 spot open. You have a week 1 spot open. Can we get a Talking Preps exclusive? Play week 1? How about it? Hey, do like Coastal Carolina did.
We can't play 11 games. I would do it.
What do you mean? Hey, cancel one of those games, man. Like, you don't have to play all those games. Week 1, let's go. Hey, Langston, set it up. You can do it.
I would say play as many games as you can early, Sam, because I don't know what's going to happen later on. I really don't.
D-Rob is a great friend of mine. I love that guy. We did a little 7-on-7 with him. I think it would be an awesome game. I think we would get them. But it ain't going to happen.
Well, they're open. Talk is cheap.
Sam, roll the dice.
That's what I'm saying, Greg.
Talk is cheap, Sam.
You're going to play later.
Play them, Sam.
Yeah.
Roll the
I
dice.
don't get them all in anyway.
That's
I
right.
don't
You're
get
going
all
to
in
lose
anyway.
games.
Don't play.
Week one.
You're going to lose
I
games.
really,
Roll the
I really
dice and
think,
play.
Sam, I really think you guys as coaches need to seriously give some consideration of starting conference play 1st of September.
Get your games going now.
I want to play conference.
I'll get conference in next week if I could. I mean, me personally.
I don't want to play Battle Creek week 1. Golly.
Oh, you know what? I know we're heavy, but I forgot. I got a special thing from my man Chris. We worked it up. My man Mike McCray at the Observer worked it up for you. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. There it is.
That citrus taste you just go wild for, man.
Man, we gotta get Sundrop on
Get some
board.
sponsorships. I mean,
What does this man have to do? Like,
all right, look, fellas, we are super heavy. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. People still watching. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back next week. We're gonna go back to 8 o'clock because Sam can't get here on time at 7:30. So we'll go back to 8 o'clock. Yes.
I need a shirt that says like Ford on it. It'll look good on my chest. Built Ford tough.
We'll be back next week at 8 o'clock. We got special announcements.
Make the call, Sam.
And we won't be as long. I promise. I'm Langston. That's Sam. That's Christ. That's the guru, the #1 voice for high school football. Chris Hughes, Dale Ross, Alex Bass, and Gary Richard, my frat brother. We are talking press. We'll catch you next week.
Sam, you